Hey, what's up, guys? I'm back again with another Build Beauties. Now, this time I have a returning guest. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
I'm Henry Johnson. I was on like you said, another Build Beauties and a Deck Daddies.
Yeah, yeah. No, so Henry, I think I have a few games of gameplay with Henry too on Octagon, but Henry last time showed off Red Amplified Tapion right at the end, the beginning of set 15. We're now at the end of set 15, movie collection 3, and he is showing off his Oppressive Raditz list. I have played against this, I think, once or twice, but not for a very long time. But it's a really interesting list, just going through it. There are a ton of board cards, and it's like all energies. It's really, I don't know, this is an interesting list. Henry, when did you start playing this deck?
I started playing this deck right when the new Raditz levels came out. I don't remember exactly when that was. I started mostly playing it Rampaging, but I built Oppressive and then I switched it to Oppressive. And I really started playing the Oppressive version a lot more recently, but I've basically been playing it since the levels came out.
Why did you go rampaging? You just wanted MPV, wanted
I originally
MPVV, or
thought maybe MPVV or that would level faster, but I found that Oppressive levels a lot faster and is just better.
really levels faster?
Yeah.
Why'd you say it levels faster?
Well, you know, you can see I have like 25 or 26 board cards, so I don't have room for many attacks. So I found that, at best I'd be getting one hit Raise Your Anger from Rampaging, and I'd almost rather that be a skip and then an anger, because with that skip and an anger, you can sequence your few anger cards together to actually level. Otherwise, in Rampaging, if you played against any anger hate, you just wouldn't level.
Yeah,
And at its worst, Oppressive has a power that actually does something.
that is true. I keep looking over Sane Combative Stance, and I do want to run some sort of gimmicky Sane Rampaging deck that's like triple Vic or like survival, utilizing that card to like shuffle key cards back deck. Um, I tried that with Raditz actually. I think before he got his newest stack. Um, I'd have to see how it plays out now, but so anyway, well, I like that. That is a good explanation. I do think that skip stopping the sequencing for anti-anger is a really good reason. So you are. It looks like dual victory. Like you have Dragon Ball, and obviously I think you're turning off NPPV a lot of time with that Unleash. I guess you
And
didn't
with
have
my
to play.
mastery.
And the master, yeah, that is true. I do forget the master got MRP'd. So go ahead and take me through this list here.
This thing's really board. It's funny. This is definitely one of the more board heavy decks, and the other deck I shared was also really board heavy.
Indeed.
Um, I usually don't, which is so it seems like I play a lot of these. I really don't play a lot of board heavy decks, but it kind of seems like I do. But so this is kind of weird for me, but I don't know. Like you said, there's the 7 Dragon Balls. So I kind of like having that dual victory because I always found that with Raditz, if you went all in on Menace Loop, oh no, they banished a few of them and you just lose. And if you and it's pretty easy to stop a deck that only has like 12 attacks from winning by survival if you really want to. So if they're focusing too hard on your massive board of setups or the Menace Loop, you'll just win by Dragon Ball Victory. Or if you just get your ass beat, you can still win by Dragon Ball Victory, which can happen pretty easily.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, it's really board heavy because it's almost like this deck has three kind of ways to win. It can kind of Menace Loop some decks. Like if you're playing against an ally deck, you're just going to kill them with Menace. Or, even if you just get to 4 against non-ally decks, you can just use Menace. But it also can kind of just like out attrition people because it has all these setups, and because of your level 3 and your level 2, every time a setup or drill every time a setup enters play, they mill 1, which can be pretty good, passively milling, and then kind of just making it so your opponent never wants to enter, and you just kind of, outlive them because you also have rejuvenation.
Yeah, I've learned that.
And it
I've learned that level 2 from playing, especially against Eric Ing, he was running blue resourceful Raditz that just tutored dominance turn one with the fancy level 1 here. And honestly, that level 2 is way more potent than you would think for that all that extra mill you can get off it.
Yeah, it looks useless, and then you draw 3 setups because I mean you run like 20, so it's not that hard. You slap them all down, and then your opponent mills 3, and it's also passive anchor. And you do that on your level 3 too. That level 3 is like the perfect Dragon Ball victory, like sort of passive, just death sentence almost for your opponent because you have the crits, you can control your Dragon Balls, and you're banishing cards, you're milling. So, yeah, it can mill, it can use Menace, or it can just kind of DBV. You're running Unleashed and you're running Oppressive, so you're able to use there's like 15 attacks with Oppressive, so you're able to, level with those in your level 1, and then you have Unleashed in that level 2 to help you pretty much always get to 3 and 4. So if you're at 3, you're probably going to win by DBV or just kind of a slow mill. But if you can get to 4, you can just win by Menace if you would like to, or if you're able to.
So speaking of Menace, why don't we talk about some of the setup choices here? Because so just to break down your board cards here, we have the Dragon Balls, all 7 Dragon Balls. You have about I think like 14 setups. If I that's just off the top of my head, maybe 12 setups, and then you have 4 drills. So a lot of the Saiyan decks, now granted Raditz is a bit different, but you opted to run drills when you're trying to level, and I don't see any drill tutors in your deck. Why did you decide to do that?
Well, yeah, I don't know the exact numbers, but yeah, there's 4 drills. One of them, Transformation Drill, is huge in Menace Raditz. So that's a 2 of, and it doesn't leave when you level, so you'll always have it when you're advancing. And Overpowering Drill and Protection Drill can just be so strong, and in a lot of scenarios, you're gonna kind of level up to 3 pretty fast, kind of hang out, or maybe get up to 4 really fast and hang out, or you just get locked down and you just stay at one level. So you're actually at levels for quite a while.
I'll have to correct myself. I said no drill tutors. You do have turning kick. I do forget.
Yeah.
When I meant yeah. So no aerial attack is what I really should have specified. I'm saying.
Yeah, just turning kick, but turning kick's pretty strong, especially with Transformation Drill. Often you have a drill out, and your level 4 can also get a drill when you use a crit. And yeah. Mainly, you only need Transformation Drill, but the other 2 drills are just so strong, especially comboed with Turning Kick.
Yeah, for sure. The Protection Drill combo with banishing a Turning Kick to get it back for free
is stupid, yeah.
Yeah, silly. Yeah, no, I mean, Protection Drill does a lot to stop crits on you too. The -1 life modifier. So, interesting. So, getting into the setups, again, pre-game I think is just kind of staple any oppressive deck that can spare the slot. I think maybe like only deck I wouldn't consider that oppressive deck is like maybe oppressive Goku because he's just drawing so much, but even then it's never a bad card, to see.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, most of the setups are. The cool thing about this deck is there are a lot of different little like cards that clearly are meant like pretty much to only work with Menace Raditz. But so there are a lot of weird setups, but these are pretty much, it might not seem like it, but kind of the bare minimum to do all the Menace shenanigans. Pre-game is, like you said, pre-game is pretty great. Especially with Saiyan Tactics, you can actually use it a couple times, even though it's limit 1.
Oh yeah.
Menace, obviously, you're trying to Menace loop. Peace is just great. Comboed with Ball 2 and starting the game with Peace on level 1. You actually can do pretty good against not DBV, MPPV. Dragon Radar is great. There's a lot of toolbox setups, kind of like there's one Visage, one Dirty Tactics, and then like the Dragon Radar, all of which you can start on with level 1 or start having out with level 1. Can be pretty cool. And Extreme Training is just kind of like good protection because some games you're at level 3 and you don't want to leave level 3. So being able to stop leaving level 3 and get a crit are really good. Because if you don't want to leave level 3, it's assuming you want the crit. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's really, yeah, I was looking at the one of extreme training. Interesting. Yeah, like you said, I mean, you might want to hang out on a level. Like you're explaining, the level 3 is for Volvic, 4 is if you're just trying to kill him with Menace. No, I like that. Of course, there's Double Sunday in there too for I assume the ball control, but I'm curious, no Sane Intimidation or Sane Enraged.
Yeah. Intimidation is intimidation the one that banishes a setup driller or whatever.
Ally, yep.
Yeah. I don't run that because it's banish after use. It has no endurance. I mean, I want to run it. If I had space, I would run it, but I don't know. It can be dead, and it also can just kind of, if you're playing against another big board heavy deck, they might just get rid of it. But it's a good card. It's just mainly up to space. So there's just the little things about it that I don't like. And I don't run Enraged as much as I would like to. I can only fit so many planning cards. If I could always ensure that I'd be higher, like if I could also fit in the attached card that says your MP is considered to have a higher power level, I would probably run Sane Enraged.
Sane Discovery, I think.
Yeah, it's Discovery.
Yeah,
Destroy setup. Yeah.
Yep.
If I could fit that and Sane Enraged, I would, but
I wish that card had a draw, like it did something like raise your anger one or draw a card.
Yeah.
On top of attaching, that'd be pretty good. But yeah, interesting. Yeah, no, there's.
I think it destroys a setup or drill.
Yep, it destroys a setup or drill. Attach. You're considered high.
But it could destroy your setup or drill, I think.
Yes, I think it is a blanket destroy setup or drill, so it's a mandatory. So that would actually not be great for this deck. Yeah, like you said, okay, the 4 drills makes sense. I mean, transformation drill is just there to. You said mostly for menace popping, or for just the extra rejuve, or.
Well, it's just I love that drill. Like in every Saiyan deck, I always have at least one of those drills. The Rejuvenate one is great with Menace. Because you actually don't have that. You have a lot of Menace shenanigans, but really your 2 heavy Menace shenanigans are that drill and Saiyan Rescue. So like if you're at level 4, you can always at least trigger it twice. Like trigger the whole Rejuve chain twice.
Yep.
So that Rejuve 1 is very useful with Menace. But even when you're not using Menace, Rejuve 1 is pretty good. It can loop time. And returning, and you don't have much board hate, so returning all the setups in play to the owner's hand can be really big against Orange.
All the drills, yeah. Yeah, no, that is a very good effect. Occasionally I would splash this drill in Sane Beatdown decks that I'd build.
Yeah.
All right, well, fair enough. I like the explanation for everything. I mean, other than that, I think the biggest thing is the spacing. Trying to run Dragon Balls with all that board card just doesn't give you a lot of space.
Yeah.
But so move on to the block lineup here. You're only running 5 physical blocks and 6 energy blocks, which is already really odd because it feels like the format is still really dominated by physical beats, especially being a board heavy deck, running light on physical blocks. And light to me is like less than 6 dedicated. Plus, there's no omnis. So what's the rationale behind this block lineup here?
I'm still playing around with the block lineup a lot. It's pretty hard. The main reason I'm running 5 and 6, just because like saying against physical beats, saying crouch is still pretty good because I'm going to be attaching it, and I'm going to be attaching it anyway, so it might not be in my deck. So they're all kind of different, like I said, Saiyan Crouch isn't necessarily for the block, it's also kind of just for the attach effect. Saiyan Club is great. If there was a physical version of Saiyan Club, I would run that instead of an energy block, but there isn't.
I have kind of wanted something like that, but I also think it'd be degenerate as hell.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So.
It would be great. I would love it, but it would be terrible. So yeah, I would like to maybe have 6 physical blocks and 6 energies. I'm thinking about cutting one of the skip energies for a skip physical. But I don't know. I feel like with this deck, if you're playing against a super aggro physical deck, you're just going to get entered on turn 1 and you're going to just be trying to DBV anyway. So why
Yeah,
not just let him thin out your deck?
I did think that when you were mentioning the Dragon Ball Victory, and I was looking at this block lineup because I was like, well, the idea of running a lighter block lineup, you run Ball Victory in case you get blown out early, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you run 26 board cards. An extra block or two isn't going to save you.
No, that's very
You
true.
can you need those Dragon Balls to fall back on.
That is good rationale. Yeah. Huh. Moving on to the events. Really peculiar choice. One stare down, one sphere.
Oh
Why?
yeah, that's my spice.
Oh
I
yeah.
like that because I cut those recently because I usually run, you run 2 and 2 or maybe even like two sphere, 3 stare down. But especially on Octagon when people are checking piles in between every single action, most people, if you're low on life cards and you're playing that super, important late game against Dragon Ball Victory, you're always gonna think I have a stare down and a sphere. You might not now that you've seen the list, but
True.
people will always think that there's another sphere stare down in there. So it's kind of like a mind game.
I think I had this
Um,
conversation with you either when we were playing or maybe for the Tapion deck, because I think you
I might
did.
have done the same thing for the
Yeah, you
Tapion
did
deck.
this. I think you did the same thing for Tapion. I remember this specifically. Like I.
Yeah, because similar to like I said earlier in the video, I don't play a lot of board heavy decks, so I don't do it often. But for board decks, I find I need more space, so I cut 1 and 1. Especially in this deck, finding space is painful. But
Yeah.
yeah, the 1 and 1 is pretty good. You could run 2 stare down or just 2 sphere, but 1 and 1 is good,
Hmm.
especially if you're stacking with like ball 7 or something.
No, that's very true. Interesting. The tag lineup is the final part of the deck here, and so I've noticed multiple cards getting chosen for their comboing with Unleashed, Overpower Aurora Drill, Crouch. Resistance, I think, is going to be played no matter what in any Saiyan deck. I think it's really hard to justify not running like Saiyan Resistance because of its just 2 anger ability. But
Yeah.
you have Tracking Blast. I guess the final attached card is Tracking Blast,
Mm-hmm.
which I
I
think.
kind of want to. I mean, I'm playing ball. I'm laying ball 2 out there for people. So even if they're not a ball deck or an unleashed deck, I could still always be lower down. And I don't want to have to worry about playing my own ball 2 because they might drop me. So tracking blast is pretty good. It's just it's all around good.
For sure.
Yeah, because if you're playing against the unleashed mirror, that can easily swing the entire game. Just get leveling and getting a tracking blast. And yeah,
So you have 3 pinpoints, but you don't run Back Crash. Or Bear
yeah.
Hug. You don't run Bear Hug or Back Crash.
Bear hug never really triggered the crit. Oh, like I would trigger the crit if I had 2 bear hug, and then one of them wouldn't.
Yeah.
I also used to run Saiyan suppression drill, so bear hug would kind of work with that. Actually, no, bear hug needs to destroy from your own deck.
Mm-hmm.
So bear hug never triggered pretty much. And I don't run back crash because I just feel like pinpoint's better because if you draw back crash, it feels terrible. And I'm not gonna draw that many attacks. I don't have
Yeah.
space. Like I want every attack I draw to be good. So drawing back crash just hurt.
Yeah.
And also, I found I'm almost always rejuvenating with my choice rejuve menaces. So I don't want to be rejuvenating back crash.
That's fair. I was gonna say those cards are definitely. I have an enhanced version of Raditz.
Yeah, and
DBD.
enhanced,
You have to run them.
those.
But yeah, no,
Yeah.
for sure. I think without the selective rejuve on the mastery, in addition to rescue of return, definitely hard to justify. But I was curious. I do see a lot of Saiyan decks that run back crash at the very least. Those 2 cards surprising. But yeah, so you mentioned the pinpoint. Everything else looks relatively stable. Curious as to why you came up with the numbers of some of these cards.
Just kind of because of space. I only have the 3 ofs of like the most, like I'm a ball deck, and with that level 3, pinpoint is really strong. Saiyan burst is like one of the best cards you can have, so you have to have 3 of those. Turning Kick, I want it to trigger. And all the other ones are 2 ofs. Sludge Bomb, I wish I could have it 3, but I don't know. It can always just be blocked, and it's not gaining me an outright anger. So I have it at 2. Power Beam can be sometimes better than Sludge Bomb because late game, if you're not menace looping or whatever, you don't have a way to kill them, Power Beam can kind of solve that problem. Because if they block it, they still have to mill 3. And otherwise, at its very worst, it's getting you an anger, and it's an attack, so it'll then trigger a skip. And then Demolishing Beam is a 2 of because when you draw it, it's really good. It's a really good card. It's like, when you draw it with no balls, it kind of sucks. So,
Yeah.
When I'm short for space, I don't want to have 3 cards that could possibly be dead.
Yeah, I like a Demolishing Beam kind of like, I know it's like counterpart is Namekian Targeted Strike, but I liken it to like the numbers that I'll run Demolish Beam in a deck are like similar to Namekian Hurried Quest. You have to have the balls on the table. You have to want to use those particular balls at that time. Demolish Beam costing you stages and having low damage with no endurance does make it very difficult to want to run it at a 3.
Yeah. And but at least it can trigger a skip, so it'll get you an anger, or you can replenish your stages, and it'll also rejuvenate itself if you don't want to use the ball. So it's not horrible, but it's definitely not a 3 of.
Yeah, I agree. The most curious thing is just some of the numbering on cards. I think I've kind of mentioned them all. I didn't really specifically get into the energies too much because you had mentioned, what you were thinking about the cutting the numbers down and explaining them. So, but yeah, Sludge Bomb. Have you ever considered Rapid Fire, or do you just want Sludge Bomb more for the fact that it's got the when rejuvenated effect?
It was between Sludge Bomb and Rapid Fire. I chose Sludge Bomb because it does the same thing. It has that hit anger, and it does cost 1 more stage, and it can be modified. But the rejuvenated effect is really good, and endurance is huge. Not like I'm short on endurance, but as a ball deck, you want as much endurance as you can get.
And Power Beam is just to finish your card.
Kind of, yeah. And like I said, at its worst, it has an instant anger that can't be stopped even if it's blocked.
Would you consider cutting a Power Beam to fit in Sludge Bomb, and then maybe something else?
I feel like I've thought about maybe cutting like even both Power Beams and maybe like getting another block and then a Sludge Bomb or something like that.
Like another.
But I don't know. The Power Beam's just pretty good.
Yeah. I really haven't played too much with Power Beam, to be completely honest. I've played it in mostly Rampage and Gotenks. I haven't even really played a lot of enhanced decks with it, oddly enough.
Yeah, it's pretty strong because it's always going to kind of do some damage.
I do like that. It's just with no utility on the card itself. It's just damage. Which is kind of like, Not that it's bad.
Yeah.
But no, really interesting. So you've played this a bit. We were talking when I asked you what deck you wanted to run, and you said, well, let me test a little bit first. So as far as testing goes, what have you kind of found to be the weaknesses of the deck and maybe some of the strengths of the deck?
Yeah. There was a post recently, I think it was by Shane or something, said like, what deck did you build that you thought would be pretty bad that was actually good? I was surprised when I played this deck because I thought, it's just kind of a gimmicky thing. Like, maybe I'll get to 4 and loop some Menace. But it's actually surprisingly consistent. Its worst matchup is clearly Black. Like, maybe Black Manipulative is clearly pretty bad. That pile 8 can be pretty damaging, and Black Capture can really suck because you have no way to get back a banished ball. But even against Manipulative, it can still... I was playing against Manipulative earlier. It's still not that bad. Even without your balls and without your Menace, you still can kind of just, like chill on 3, mill your opponent whenever you play setup, and just kind of, outlive most decks. So its kind of biggest weakness can be kind of mid-range almost, when they play at the exact speed you don't want them to. Because like I said, against really fast decks, you just kind of turtle up and wait to DBV. And against really slow decks, you just kind of win because you're able to play that game better. It's the mid-range decks that can do damage when you don't want them to that are annoying.
It's talking about like maybe like a combo-y enhanced or commanding deck,
Yeah,
or even
enhanced can be really bad. Any deck that banishes a lot of cards tends to be a pretty bad matchup. But this deck also has matchups like if you play against Ally, you're pretty much always going to be able to win. Even if you don't Menace Loop, you're able to win against a slower deck. And
do you think mostly because of Dragon Ball
yeah.
Victory then, or are you talking, and I guess the mill you said?
Yeah, even without the Dragon Ball Victory, it's a pretty good kind of control-y deck. Like, yeah, with the mill and the occasional pokes. That mill does a lot more than it seems like it's going to. It actually can add up, throughout the game. You can easily mill your opponent, like upwards of 10 cards, not even in combat.
So with that in mind, what is the way that you've been winning the most with this deck?
Survival. I probably win by Dragon Ball Victory one time for every 4 times I win by Survival, which is about, I think that's kind of customary for most, dual threat decks. But most of the time I've won by Dragon Ball Victory is because my opponent, starts to whoop a hurting on me early, and then I just win by Dragon Ball Victory. So I either get my, shenanigans going, or I win by Dragon Ball Victory.
So we talk about the weak matchup, I guess, being the tempo, the good matchup being Ally. Otherwise, would you say just kind of like up in the air against everything else? Kind of luck of the draw?
Kind of. It's surprisingly consistent for a deck that runs 26 board. So it has a couple like outstanding good matchups, like I said, like Ally. Like in the new set, if people start playing Ginyu a lot, it'll be great. Because against any Ally deck, it has a really good matchup. Against most ball decks, it has a really good matchup because it actually has a lot of crits. And then against black, it has a pretty bad matchup, but everything else, it's kind of just a coin toss at the worst.
So you specifically mentioned Black Capture. Another card of note that would be good with Dragon Ball decks, Sagacious Strike or Sinister Choke. Have you considered
Sagacious I really want to add Sinister Choke in here. I want Sinister Choke so badly, but it's not styled. And I need every attack to be able to trigger that oppressive, because I'll probably only, like I said, have 1 attack per combat. So I want to be able to get the skip from it.
Yeah. Perhaps Rapid Fire then. I mean, I guess at least you do have Sludge Bomb as some sort of tech against.
And Turning Kick.
Actually, the problem with Sludge Bomb over like Rapid Fire is that it can still be manipulative masteried. And
Yeah.
So same thing with Red Static Shot. So interesting. No, it's just a neat list.
Yeah, Black Capture is pretty bad. But I played against. Sorry to interrupt, but I played against. I don't know. I think it was Brandon. I was playing against Manipulative Tapion. He got 2 Black Captures attached, and it was still like a really close game. Like he was down to 3 cards, and he had 2 Black Captures and Black Absorption Drill, which seems like a death sentence for this deck. But I was actually doing pretty well. But yeah, Black Capture is pretty gnarly.
Yeah, and then
overall, and enhanced is bad.
And then of course there's Turning Kick. I forgot about that as well. I mean, I guess there's ways. But yeah, enhanced. What I've learned about enhanced is enhanced can beat any slow deck can be beat by enhanced as long as they don't blow out the enhanced deck completely. I don't even want to sinister early. You can like 1-turn kill an enhanced deck with orange decks, with Destruction and Tank Barrages. That's like how you beat it with that. But enhanced will eat a lot of the slower decks alive. Especially
the banishment. Any deck that banishes a lot, like I said, is a bad matchup.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is there's some interesting card choices. I think mostly everything makes a lot of sense, especially when you explained it. I don't know. It's interesting. It's an interesting list. Like I said, I like enhanced more, at least on paper, because I enjoy the selective rejuvenation, and then you get the silliness that is enhanced, even if you're not throwing a lot of attacks. You get that banish, and you get that selective rejuve, so you get the cool combos there.
Enhanced, because the cool thing about Saiyan Raditz is there's just so many ways to build it. Like enhanced is pretty good, but I found enhanced like I'm playing like 6, 7 attacks, and just kind of keeping them always in my deck with Raditz, or not with Raditz, with the mastery, and then just kind of going off that one anger, the selective rejuve, and then you have like the events and stuff that mill. But I don't know. I just found oppressive is kind of more control-y, and at its worst, I felt that power is actually still pretty good to rejuve 1 and make your opponent lose 2. It makes tactics always live, and it's pretty helpful for menace looping.
That is true, actually. Playing tactics in the enhanced deck that I have sometimes just really sucks because I just don't have any. I don't get menace out.
If they banish all, if you don't have menace,
so
tactics, pretty.
That is a good point, actually. Interesting. Yeah, there's some slight differences to major differences between the master that you pick. Between different Saiyan Masteries, but I think Raditz is viable in pretty much every Saiyan Mastery. I don't think Dynamic's really worth running outside of like a couple of MPs. I'm not really sure I would do Dynamic Raditz personally when you can just very easily shoot to 2 with most of the other ones. But
it used to be, in my opinion, the best for Menace Loop was Dynamic Raditz.
Prior to Unleash,
but now that it has the new 1. Yeah, prior to Unleash, and now that it has the new level 1, I mean, you want to be on that level. Starting the game with a setup is really also good because against hard aggro, it kind of sucks to enter against a turn 1 Visage.
Yeah.
So that's pretty nifty.
No, I do like that. Yeah, no, turn 1 Visage, turn 1 Radar, turn 1
Tactics can just make out some decks just cry.
Yeah,
like Roshi and stuff like that. Black in general.
Yeah, Tactics is pretty silly. It's a silly card. Yeah. Well, this is really cool. I like a lot of the explanations that you gave. I think I've said that a couple times, but everything seems like it works. How you kind of what's your record right now in testing? Would you say about like 50-50, more wins than losses?
I've found it's almost better. It's like a little over 50-50. I've played it a lot. I played it a lot, like I said, right when Raditz came out, and I just started playing it a lot recently. So I don't really remember right when he came out. But recently, I'd say I've been winning. Kinda. Aside from today, I lost 2 in a row, but I've been winning about 60-40, winning 60% of the games, maybe a little more. But like I said, it's maybe more. It's just it's surprisingly consistent for what it is.
Yeah. So going forward, like I said, we're at the end of the set 15. What would you like to maybe do to this deck, or what would you like to maybe see come out to support this deck?
I've actually thought about that a lot. I'd really like a mastery in Saiyan that doesn't require attacks, because every single Saiyan master, I mean, flavor-wise, that should clearly be the way it is. But every Saiyan mastery makes you run all these attacks, and Saiyan Raditz doesn't love that. He'd be totally fine just running like 3 Sinister Choke and maybe some Saiyan bursts. But so it'd be really cool if the new Saiyan mastery maybe didn't emphasize so much on attacks or needing attacks. And I would also really like a way for another sort of way for Raditz to get access to his banished zone, because that's what kills him. When cards are banished, it just feels so bad. Because especially if a Dragon Ball gets banished, you're doomed, and if a lot of your menaces, your Saiyan tactics get banished, you're doomed. So it'd be cool if you had like another way aside from tactics to rejuvenate cards from the banished zone.
I think tactics is enough. When that card came out, I remember when that card came out and everybody saw it and they're like, this is fucking stupid. Why do they get to do shit in the banished zone? And then Goku...
He needs it. He needs it to protect his menaces.
Oh, man. I mean, I'll say this. Menace Raditz still like pretty decent, like you say. And you can't hit 4 as easily from back like the Dynamic Raditz days.
Or with that Empowered.
Being able to... I still think Dynamic was better than Empowered because Raditz, like you said, doesn't want to throw a lot of attacks, so it'd be he'd get stalled out back in the day. I mean, now, if with this new stack, if he had this new stack with Empowered Mastery legal, it'd be kind of silly. I feel at least
Mhm.
like you'd hit 2 really easily, but um,
Yeah. I mean, you hit 2 pretty fast with this deck.
yeah, for sure, for sure. No, like I said, uh, so
It's
yeah,
really fun.
yeah, no, it seems like
Menace Raditz is very fun.
a nice little flavor of Raditz here. Probably have to. I think I do have Derek Faraji's enhanced one, and mine is pretty similar to his list, so I don't think I'll upload mine. But I'm glad that you sent me this one. I'm glad that you have Oppressive because there are some merits to this version, like you said, with the skipping, the stage loss over the other versions, and some of the card choices that are kind of freed up. I guess in the sense you're not running all the enhanced support cards and stuff. It's definitely interesting list. So. Well, Henry,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate
Of course.
everything, and everybody who's watching. If there's are more decks that you'd like to see or you'd like to submit for Build Beauties, by all means, shoot me a PM. I will have some more time coming, or going forward, coming out of the summer here, and I hope you guys are really excited for the next set. Henry, I hope to get this out. This should be coming out pretty soon, so look forward to seeing it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, take it easy, guys. Peace.